so it makes me feel very good. But we've got one more game, guys, so let's go ahead and get this one underway. A versus B, last match of the day, and it's going to be on sandy, beautiful Miramar.
It is indeed a bit easier of a playing path this time around. Not really expecting too many mix-up, but I mean, that was an exciting game. First Miramar definitely didn't disappoint. I mean, it wasn't too wacky of a circle. Hardship was included in that, but I said I mean, we kept 64 alive for 12 minutes. That's usually the best achievement for NA, right?
Hey, I like it whenever we go a little bit wild and have the fun openings coming through here. But yeah, I mean, I like the fact that it was a lot of tactical rotations coming into play, a lot of just awareness on positioning.
Yeah.
And especially it shows like whenever we get a weird circle like that, I know everybody just thinks that we're like so mean because we want to see the players have to suffer, but really it's about seeing how great their map knowledge is, all that type of stuff. Let's be real. Like everybody knows how to play around the major points inside of the map. Whenever you know how to play the random parts of the map, that just shows how amazing of a player you are.
Well, it does. Yeah, it puts a much larger emphasis on the macro element of teams' games. So we actually have a pretty similar circle pop again. A lot of space out to the north. Again, it seems like, you know, Gravity, Tactical 8, Fabled now, Ascendance and Zenith again to an extent, just because of them getting off the plane early, or in the first half of the plane path at least. Going to have good access to this circle, but similar, I mean, in the sense of we have, what, 9 teams outside of it on the south side, pretty much wrapping all the way from east to west.
So a lot of very firm northern rotations are going to be a big factor for a lot of these teams moving through, where we see it posted up like naturally teams like Veritas holding down position, hard shifts. They're playing pretty far back down towards the south. They're like our most southern team at this directed point. This time still getting control over almost all of Chumacero. Looks like Rumblers isn't really contesting it.
Wait, I just saw Evasion, knock Hello Senpai, and then somebody from Pros Don't Snake run him over. What?
There's an adventure happening somewhere in the map. That's all I can say with that one going on. So I'm trying to even figure out where that was. I'm looking like back over towards the map right now, and I don't even have a clue based off of just the set of events that led that one together. Most of our team is pretty close to dropping the same spots, so nothing too crazy, and should be fairly similar to the last rotation points.
It should be, yeah. We're gonna have a good opportunity to get looted. Actually think out these first rotations. I mean, these circles are difficult. There's a couple of those, you know, high ground terrains. I'm talking about east side of Crater Fields, obviously the east side of Pozo, the massive mountain there. Then obviously you got Plane Crash and everything kind of west of water treatment over on that sweeping kind of high hill. Sorry, that can be a factor in this sort of circle. Just for, I mean, similar circumstances to the last time, right? Teams that get there, they want to split. They want to obviously loot in that area and maintain those splits as long as possible. But anybody that's coming in kind of the back end of the 6-7 minute mark, you run the risk of getting crashed. And that's when we see teams kind of get punished here. But I mean, more often than not, you know, when we talk about west of water treatment circles and how dominant SDK are in them in particular, it's because they get control of those prior compounds very, very early on.
Especially because in this circle, we tend to see about 2 very common ending points. That area just to the like southwest of water treatment. And then oddly enough, a lot of times around that Crater Fields area, we've been seeing a lot of endings happening on those different points. Usually the shift away from like the hillside and the mountains just north of Picado to like, it's going to be, if we see I guess the trend continue, a more northern circle is usually what we see based off of this opening circle. And it feels like a lot of people are kind of vying for that.
And again, it depends on the circle too, Pop, because if that those kind of hot spots of unplayable area, you got to treat them like water. Again, the circle 2 kind of dictates whether or not that phase 4 shift is going to be a factor. And again, I'm talking about the area east of Pozo. I'm talking about east of Crater Fields. It does obviously move away from that area. And also on top of that, you know, the south side of San Martin, if we have one center up here, we know that that's going to get shift away from in circle 4.
Oh, you know, San Martin, it's been a hot minute since we've seen some San Martin or Hacienda endings. We didn't complain about that one too much. Sonic's got themselves a pretty decent high ground advantage based off of this, with should be able to play it for a little while. Still depending, look like they're moving in a little bit more back over towards the west, just following the road as they go. Should be pretty open for most accounts. A lot of our teams starting to make their rotations in right now, and again, a very heavy northern shift, much like we saw in the last game.
It should. I'm seeing a couple of members of Veritas and Fabled overlapping each other. Magi actually down to 1 HP here. Not sure where he's taking damage from, but you can hear some shots ringing out from the east, all the way up on that high ground. Is that Gravity? Yeah, Gravity have got up to the high ground overlooking water treatment. I mean, they're unlucky not to get that knock there.
I mean, that's a butt clench moment if you're ever driving through it and you just continue to hear like the little pings on the side of your vehicle, knowing any more taps will just instantly drop you out. Does manage to make it back over towards safety, but yeah, we got Gravity holding back our most northern position just above water treatment plant right now. See, we got Veritas looking back over towards Fabled. And a little bit of an interesting setup and configuration going on, pretty centered inside the map. They do have T8 that's back over towards the east of them, but I don't think has the best vision on the point. Actually, I think has no vision just based off of the way that that hillside works. TC and VRT playing back onto another point, while we've got Oath that are starting to make their rotation and just playing that area just north of Hacienda.
Yeah, and this circle a little bit different to the last. This is one that we would expect people to cluster up around the center just because of the nature of that high ground. But a couple of these teams now, I mean, we're at the 6.5 minute mark, and I'm looking to dead center. There's not an awful lot to go for, so expecting Oath to maybe settle for something along this water treatment road. Looks like Zenith are doing the same. And for anybody else that needs to still come in, I mean, Liberate, Duel, hard shifts. I mean, where do you go to? You've got to commit to playing Edge in this situation.
Who I feel bad for right now are going to be the hard shifts, where you can see that Oath is still just taking a little bit of shots to get control on location. The hard shifts is going to be the second to last team that comes through, and you got to be careful just running in front of teammates like that. All right, Hypoc, how does that settle? Whenever somebody's running in front of your bullets and you hit them,
It's their fault.
it's their fault, right? Like every single
100%.
time you see this, like people are just like, "Why'd you shoot me, bro? Why'd you run in front of me while I'm taking shots?" Like it's not a hard thing to figure out what's going on there.
No, it's the correct etiquette is to always run around your teammate if he's ADS. That's the correct etiquette, but
Look at it. The extra half second it'll take to walk behind him saves you, so that way you don't have to spend that time meting up afterwards. See, really, it's a win-win. You get more time out of it, even though it does take a little bit further. So, just to get you guys a little bit updated on how it's going with our rotations, everybody is inside of the circle except for right now, one eye open, and by God, the territory west of San Martin is just stacked with teams. It feels like it's everybody in the world just along one hillside.
well, I mean, this is the thing. Like I said, you cannot come to this circle late and expect to get something decent. There's a couple of really bad compounds to get boxed in this circle, and that's why we always see a very similar setup here. That's why we get such a cluster down to the center. Michael actually finally, after Greg shot and Hella were kind of stalking him, gatekeeping him at this compound, Michael's finally going to get spotted out and dealt with. Dirty's in. D treats over on the other half of this split, and actually Lister going to pull up on top of him. Lister runs himself over with the car.
Oh,
The damage came in, and D treats capitalized on it.
it feels like Pros Don't Stake. We're going for another car play there and seeing if maybe the V8 could get them a win off of it. But this time the V8 is the enemy and assists when Veritas. So they're now having to play several angles, and the other two members of Pros Don't Stake now firmly locked down into 1 point to play around. Also should be noted, with the angles to play, there are a couple of high ground disadvantages that might come back to bite Pros Don't Snake based off of positioning. New circle is popped, and hey, screw that whole center thing. Let's make our way up next to La Cabrera.
Well, the interesting thing is now I was talking about two areas that are unplayable. One's still a factor here, but it's actually added another one on the west side of Oasis. Well, the south side of Oasis, really. So this circle 2 could create a big issue for that phase 3 and 4 shift. So going to be interesting to see how the teams kind of read into that differently, where people prioritize to play. But right now, there's a lot of space up to Cobra, and actually One Eye Open, who are just coming in now on the west side of the previous circle, Matt, are going to have pretty much free pickings if they're quick about it.
Well, they gotta be quick because right now it looks like every single team except for maybe Fabled is inside a vehicle. Sonics looks like they're also starting to advance back over towards that direction, starting to firmly regroup, and it is just a quick migration as every single team is trying to find somewhere that they're going to be playing in the northern sections of this circle. A lot of teams still clustered around that area just to the east of Crater Fields. Looks like Sonics trying to get a couple of shots back over and does connect with Ice Tech to get him down and quick flush. Rolling off into the distance, looks like he's going to find himself in a little bit of trouble. Might be able to use a touch of this hillside to buy a little bit more space, but it's not going to protect him for too long, as sooner or later he's going to have to real vision. But Sonics look like they don't want to sit and wait too long. While they do get the pickup on points and are inside the safe zone, they know that everybody is carving out a path in front of them, and they could be gatekept if they're not careful.
Could indeed. I mean, you face a similar problem here, really. If you're not one of the first teams to get moving, you've not already got something on the north side of the previous circle. You got to play this one slow. If you start sending it, that's when people die in rotation. It makes it 10 times more difficult to hold down whatever you get to.
Most of our team's still playing back south of La Correria. So with this, Gravity trying to go for a little bit of a position point. You can see Zenith now finding themselves in a touch of trouble. Looking back over towards Maji. We already got Beck down to 1 point, but he kicks up trying to make a play off of it.
Oh my
Good
God.
spin background coming out from Maji, trying to go for the flush out. Knows the fact that he has Zenith over onto one ankle, but trying to see if he can get enough time out of it. It's not going to happen as finally the angles do come up, and that's going to be Zenith getting the kills.
What was Hella doing stood next to the road in the open?
Idea. I'm not. That's look. Hey, you're the color caster for this one. You're supposed to give me the breakdown because I was hyper confused on it
Okay,
too.
I guess she wanted to go and maybe camp a rotation or a vehicle coming along the road, but or maybe she was flexing out to try and third party ascendants. I don't know, but
Just so you guys are aware, she was about 200 meters north of the rest of her teammates who are holding down the hillside. You can see that we're looking at them right now, who are kind of caught up in long range skirmishes with the different teams around their location. Maybe she just couldn't make it up the hillside, so try to see what she could get out of it. Pros Don't Snake do get eliminated off of a hard shift push coming out from that point, so that gives La Cabrera over to predominantly the hard shifts and Clueless to the north of them.
and Clueless, are they still 4 or are they 3 up now? I'm just looking at them pulling into the north side of Train Yard.
I think they have 3.
Korea. They have 3 at this point. Yeah.
It's really just them and Gravity playing to the north. There's like the top quarter of the circle that nobody is in at the time. Rumblers playing back over next to Edge in Crater Fields do have some territory to work around, but still being forced to play next to Edge. If this ends up being another center circle, this is going to be a problem for Rumblers.
Well, indeed, and unplayable on the south side of Oasis. Still a factor here, so going to expect this one to center up, or I mean, it could go really. It could go to the north, but I very much doubt that with the way the terrain does fall. Gravity going to get themselves straight off that high ground very, very quickly. And Clueless actually, wisely so. They're going to pull straight away to the crossroads. So a lot of the center of this circle going to be occupied very, very quickly. But again, it's going to be really difficult for any of these teams to go south to north. There's barely any option or space now to wrap on either side of the circle.
The mountainside that's just to the southwest of La Cabrera might be the biggest factor. That's where so many of our teams are presently trying to set up position points at. You can see that Zenith, instead, trying to make a pass through what could be a little bit of a deadlier gauntlet. It looks like not everybody's firmly defended up just quite yet. Are going to try to make a play back over a little bit more towards center. A lot of teams taking fire at them right now, but they do manage to get away with it. And that could be a huge factor for Zenith in these later stages. They've got really Clueless back over towards them and Gravity that's holding down everything towards the north, but all the other teams cluster down to the south.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 compounds getting taken straight away they're the 2 strongest compounds potentially in the next circle as well, unless we see something wacky. I'm fairly sure it could still go anywhere other than just avoiding that unplayable on the south side of Oasis, but we will have to wait and see. A lot of teams still committing into Korea, so banking on this pull into the west at least a little bit. But I mean, there's still 5 teams on the south side of the circle, Matt. That I mean, they can stay here for this one, but it's not really going to grant them anything in the long run.
Yeah, unless the Houston hard shifts get a hard shift of their own back down towards the south, this is going to be a problem because not only the fact that they are in I guess, a clustered position, they're also in a very difficult place to try to rotate out of just in general. With the amount of buildings set up and the hillsides and the way that so many of the teams are set up around position, the hardships are still just trying to vie to get as much control over territory as they can and really force the other teams away from this point. You can see the VRT evasion trying to run back over into the distance, finding himself with the Rumblers who finally managed to make their way back over next to the circle. So where we see the hardships kind of playing around, they have a lot of different teams specifically that are also starting to get high ground advantages around their positioning. So if the circle does move away from where we're looking at with hardships, with the Rumblers, this could be a big problem for both of these teams as they're going to be continually harassed on any movement that they make.
It was, and the longer you stay here, if the circle isn't favorable for you, the harder it is to get out of Coparia because, like I said, a couple of those really strong compounds already been taken, and getting towards the crossroads late. Oh, Shrimsy actually nearly catching Jassa with that pre-fire there, but Sonics do get themselves a decent spot, but again, difficult to go south to north in the previous circle. We're going to see if it's going to be a factor here. Actually does pull to the west, Matt, all the way over. So now your eyes go towards hard shifts. A couple of the teams on the south side going to be able to hold on. It's whether or not they can clear their edge. Oath, Tactical 8, the Remnants, and Liberate all going to have to find a way in here.
Well, the hardships have it in their name, and it pays off for them whenever they need to. Quick tap coming out from distance. It's going to be Balefrost that gets the hit back over onto Shrimsy, but should be a fairly safe res. Where we see Sonics playing at, they are pretty comfortable based off of positioning, but Oath are going to be the teams that are going to have to move, as well as Liberate, and I believe that's going to be T8, as well as one of the last members for VRT. All might be opting to come along a similar path. We do have Gravity that has control back over towards the north, but you can see Clueless, who kind of made their way back over here and is hanging out right in between Zenith and where we see the hardships and Fable playing at, finding themselves under a little bit of control point. But really, everybody's in a fairly safe spot right now, except for the teams that are going to be rotating high pop.
Oh, wait, Clueless did keep 4 up. It weren't 3. I guess there was an overlap on the map, and 2 people were just hugging each other somewhere in a building. We didn't spot that 4th player, but Tactical 8 now looking to make a dash into this circle. Liberate going to get a little bit of damage on the way in, but no knock coming through just yet. Oath trying to third party and actually shoot down onto Liberate instead of these rotating players. Steezy going to pull up on the backside of the warehouse, but you can see on the X-ray, Rumblers are here waiting.
This is a little risky, and right as soon as he steps off, it's going to be a quick down coming out. Good position coming out from Los. Going to have to keep an eye on what's going. You can see how T8 decides to separate out, and this means the fact that multiple approach points are a benefit until you just start losing members galore. This is going to be a problem if they get picked apart on multiple angles, as Rumblers can continue to communicate and reposition through this. 2 members of T8 already down and out, and a quick push just going back over towards the center, right through them, actually closer back over to where the hardships are playing. On the other side of this, you can see Lush now contending on the other side with the Rumblers. On the other side flank, looks like Waldo might have an idea on what's going on, but doesn't want to extend too far just yet. Well, actually, I say that. He's still just trekking it over here. He's like, nah, I got this, bros.
No, I like this from the Rumblers. They want to clear this throughout. They know that Tactical 8 took casualties on the way in. And they know that ultimately... Oh, Waldo just spotted the gun there. Yeah.
Oh, just a quick underhand toss. Is it going to roll into the right spot? Lush, where you got to go? Gets the distance. But this is a little bit of a problem, and Lush is firmly aware of that. Instead, decides to run in, say, okay, I still got my vehicle. Maybe I can make a play based off of this, and circling around back over into that angle is going to be a problem. There is a firing line just waiting. Tires getting popped. A ton of damage coming through, but it's going to be continual harassment coming up from the side. Finally, to connect. They want to flush this one out. Finally get the space, but hey, VRT, now it looks like you've made a new enemy.
Well, and meanwhile, that happened. Duel did actually pull up onto Oath over far on the east side. And in the meantime, Veritas actually pushing onto this. So they've seen this, they've heard it. Now, here comes the third party from Veritas. Let's see if they can punish Oath before they can reset off this fight.
They're trying to get there as quick as possible. It doesn't look like they can try to find the right point to play around Gravity, who's been playing toward the north for so long, finally having to make their way back down toward the south. You can see Liberate does get eliminated as well. Up to a flaming vehicle right as a throw goes off right in front of him. Means the fact that he can't get back and narrowly escapes. Just cascading up into the air. Clueless still holding down the point as well as off at range, taking a couple of shots. New circle does pop, and yet again, hardships in the center. I was saying the fact that I was worried about their positioning, but they are perfectly fine. Now it's going to be Gravity, Zenith, Oath, all going to have to move.
Yeah, and actually, I was going to say it's going to be interesting to see if hardships try and maintain this 2-2 split or they look to regroup. And looks like Lobes and Chubb are going to hop in a vehicle, head back across to Maluk and J-Sank at the high-rise building. So it does give an opportunity for somebody to take the north side of the road, but whether or not anybody's going to be quick to act on that. Veritas did pull out of that push onto Oath. They went back to the compound to try and hold on to that.
What about poor Pankill? He just had his vehicle get exploded in front of him, and everybody else on Gravity hops into vehicles and drove off. Did they leave poor Pankill? They did. Gravity's trying to
Yeah.
for positioning, and they know the fact that it's too risky to go over next to him. Let's be honest. Clueless just tore apart his vehicle. I'm just making a joke.
One eye open, though.
Yeah, rolling right up next to the point is when I open have the angle to play around, and yes, they do. Mon Hardy connect.
Both.
That's gonna be a quick follow-up, and what was going to be leaving them behind, now the last member alive for Gravity is going to be Pancake. So quick little fights happening on multiple points. It looks like Zenith might be trying to make a movement of their own.
Oh, it's a clown car. It's a clown car.
Go, and they make it just a smidgen. Kickstart's going to get dropped out. Puna just we're going to be rolling right over next to right next to open. Yeah, just covers up and one all about the hard shifts just destroyed Zenith.
I mean, yeah, the circle kept shifting away from that compound they had over at the crossroads, and I mean, when your hands are tied, you got to make a play like that. It's not often you get the opportunity to see the clown car, but this time it does not pay off as expected.
Settling down just a touch. Oath is still dealing with the remnants of Fables right down below them, trying to play this a little bit more carefully. Don't forget that we still have Pankill that's alive just north of where we see Clueless hanging out at point. So Sonic's looking back over the control point to play off of right now, as well as the hardships.
Indeed, I don't expect too much movement here. Oath actually going to come up. Oh yeah, Pat Caps heard him. Yep, so they got the audible cue there. The molly inside is actually fantastic. It's going to get Greg shot down to about half HP. Maybe another more snake is there to clean up. After he vaults out, though, Fabled will fall in 10th place. You see Sonic's over on the south side, sending some pressure over towards Oath. Snake has done actually fall, but a pretty straightforward res to get him back up.
They've got themselves a safe point to play from right now. Veritas looks like they're going to be the ones that might be opting to go back along the same point where Oath was playing at. Clueless also going to have to make a move of their own, as well as VRT and the Rumblers. Almost everybody else in a pretty decent control point to play around from this point. But Oath looks like they're kind of caught up and looking what's going on in front of them. That might be a touch of a problem, as Veritas might have a sneaky path to just walk right up behind them.
I'm just looking at it. Clueless just, I mean, they've got an open run, to say the least here, Matt. Actually, some lucky damage coming in to pull Oath away from that angle. Pat Caps and Snakers will fall. Veritas now coming back on to reaggress onto Oath after that early pressure.
Good play.
Oh, the molly's perfect. Oh, it's going to tick him down.
He's going to try to get a little bit more distance from it, but Veritas, you could see Oath was so tunnel vision off into the distance, and Veritas just used that to their advantage. Oath has nowhere to go, feeds the kill back over to Tiggleton instead. Who was also finding themselves in a lot of trouble. One Eye Open, who was needing to have themselves a good game, finds themselves in fight after fight right now, holding down that 19th position. A good game here could be huge for them. As you can see, Gravity is just 1 point ahead. VRT just a few points ahead as well. So if they can continue to string some kills together, it will be great.
Yeah, decent position to do so as well, man. That's the important thing. All of that pressure from the north side now been alleviated. If they do get a decent shift here, they're going to be able to stay at the school over on the north side of the road for the next one at least. And I mean, potentially deal with Veritas if it's not a good shift for them. There's a couple of threats inside the city that I don't think are going to be an issue for One Eyed Open just because they're on the other side of the road. But we'll have to wait and see if they can get anything else done towards the end game.
We've got some remnants of teams that are kind of hiding out and around, but really we've got hard shifts that are holding in back towards the center of the circle. Sonic's playing back over towards the southeast. On the due eastern set, we can see that's going to be where Veritas is going to play. Back over towards the west is going to be Rumblers. And then I believe one member is still up right now for T8. But it's just going to be One Eye Open, like you were talking about, with all the roads and everything else like that. A lot of these teams aren't going to want to like push back over into those points. One Eye Open, if they get circle favor, everybody can come to them and give them a lot of control to play around. Oddly enough, though, everybody else is getting caught on these edge fights. As you can see, Sonic starting to make a push back over next to Veritas and kind of leaving the hard shifts alone, who has due center.
Indeed, Sonic's trying to get something onto Veritas. Again, it's at this point in the game where you want to just weaken any team you can to make that end game push a little bit easier. Rumbler's gonna stop a little flash over the wall here, just expecting something on the other side of this building, but we know that he's upstairs. We can see on the X-rays. Actually, the worst possible circle for One-Eyed Open. They're actually going to come on, try and get some damage on. Gaxy's stuck on a bar. He can't get in. You're going to have to pull back here about 20 HP. One-Eyed Open, though, need to cross the road now, and they have information on where Rumblers are pushing into.
This comes into the fact that you need to make a play whenever you find the opening to work with. Zealot is just on top of this building as well. Sonic's getting a little bit of damage thrown back there away from Veritas back on the other point. Trying to make a little bit of a play off the point, and looks like D-Treat's starting to find a little bit of a different angle to play around. Veritas now becoming the aggressors back over towards Sonics, who were messing with him so much before, just coming up the hillside, and Keenan has a goal in mind, and it is the death and destruction of Sonics. He is playing this aggressively, just running up the hillside. I like the fact that he's still making sure to check every single angle, but Sonics just went full retreat, and I think that might be able to get spotted out now. I don't know if Keenan saw the ones cresting the top of the hill.
Yeah, H-Twin holding on so that Shrimsy and Mime could pull back to this position. But whether or not they're going to be able to take this fight, I think now Veritas is just going to look for a route straight into the zone. I mean, hard shifts are going to be foaming at the mouth at that building now, just waiting for anything to walk into their sight lines.
Well, they're looking back over towards One Eye Open, and the Rumblers right now denying a couple of different angles. Winlow's trying to move forward. You can see a ton of smoke and utility out in front, but also a lot of Molotovs to kind of stall any movement, making them their own trap. Not finding safety inside the smokes, instead finding instantly death. Well, I guess slow burning death is the better way to say it. When moving forward, now that Keenan, the point man for Veritas, has gone down, Jazza playing off in the distance as well as D-Treats look like they're going to play the backside of the hill instead, finally giving Sonics a little bit more room to breathe over here, and instead maybe shift back over just a touch into the west and not really try to aggress this too much, but it looks like the roles have switched out as Shrimsy now playing a little bit more aggressively back over towards Veritas.
Shrimsy has 30 bullets left.
And he's going to use them all on Veritas.
He's going to use lit, yep. I mean, he needs to kill him and loot him, to be honest. Nice shots there. D-Trees will get shut down. That's a couple of 5.56, hopefully, on that body. Needs to head down that way. Pretty sharpish. I mean, they should have a good idea now of where Jazz is playing prone. You can see now the push is going to come through.
Yeah, they should have the angles with the way everything's set up. Hard shifts still lives.
It's ending on their building, dude.
There is the hill that's back over to the east where Sonics are playing and could be slightly problematic. Additionally, if we see Sonics overextend going after this kill, might find themselves in a little bit of trouble. Shrimsy just going to go ahead and toss that through. And look, you called it right there, Hypoc. That's some loot that is much needed right now. Shrimsy sitting on the
no 5.5.
No 5.5. Feels bad, man. Shrimsy, bro, I have been there. How many times? It's like, okay, I've just got a few bullets left. Everybody, look, Mime's not sitting on a lot either.
Especially now with everybody running barrel and SLR. Like, you're not going to find 5.5 late game.
I mean, and even then, 7.62 ends up being such a commodity because everybody's using it so stacked up. One Eye Open still trying to make their cross back over towards the home ground and home territory of the hard shifts. Rumblers continuing to harass on that outside angle. Winlow, every time he goes for a peek, just have bullets galore flying back over towards him. Delta trying to move forward. You can see Winlow tries to use the smokes. There are so many of them down, but Rumblers just have a read on everything that's going forward. Delta slowly creeping forward, gets shot off to the side from the hard shifts, instead plays the back angle over here right next to Rumblers and looks like he's finally managed to make it to safety.
I think there's a chance that the Rumblers know he's either stacked on the wall or outside the blue one story. You see Waldo pre-hanging that angle. There you go, Delta down to 1 HP. It's actually Lobes that gets it through the fence. That'll be another point going over towards the hard shifts, but
nice pickup.
Potentially here, I mean, unless Sonics can work some magic, it's going to be difficult for hard shifts to lose this one.
Finally, Jazza goes down. Sonics get their revenge, sitting on 8 kills from this point. And they have the high ground around the hard shifts, but the hard shifts have all of the control in the world. In 5 seconds, everything's going to start condensing down next to them. Their defense is the key storyline from here on out. They know where a lot of the teams are playing, but don't forget the fact that when the Rumblers make their push, we also are going to see a 2-2 split coming out from the Sonics. They're going to try to approach from the south and from back over next to the east as well. So with this, multiple firing lines need to be set up by the hard shifts. And while they are trying to play the angles, no, the work is actually coming out for them. Rumblers get the shots back over towards Mime and get him down. Lobes doesn't have a clear vision on how to play this, and Rumblers actually starting to get within reaching distance, but the Sonics are starting to harass them off to the side.
This is huge, actually. The fact that Rumblers have got it into the ground floor here makes it very difficult. H1 actually going to find Lost HD. Down to 5 HP now, but just confirm that kill out. Mine will bleed. Again, the star is obviously going to be a factor for how this game ends, but the fact that Rumblers have got 2 into the ground floor means there is a chance that the hard shifts can throw this one.
It is huge coming out from them. We might actually end up seeing a med battle just due to the positioning on how the hard shifts are
Oh my
set.
god, is that nade?
Oh, okay. Still just trying to rain in some damage up over towards the top of it, throwing in whatever he can back over the angles, denying Jason even peek out. 2 members from the Sonics starting to make a little bit of a push back over to this and might find themselves having to contend with the Rumblers down low. Quick spray is going to come out from McCoy. Nice connection on that flush back over, but McCoy doesn't have anywhere that he can go either. H-Wick still moving forward, moving up. Kills for the Sonic. Arts just have an angle to play off of. Wynn has to run his way inside of it. Rumblers do get eliminated, but now it's going to start raining hard shifts as different angles of approach starting to come through. But Wynn looks like and so the hard shifts walk away with the victory.